All right, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating story. It's about a growing grocery chain and their journey from, well, complete data chaos to having a real predictive strategy. So, how do you actually go from drowning in spreadsheets to seeing the future? Let's get into it.
And this is where it all starts, with a problem that, let's be honest, probably feels pretty familiar to a lot of us. The whole company, we're talking sales, inventory, promotions, everything. It's all tangled up in what the source material just perfectly calls Excel spaghetti. You know what I mean? It's that chaotic, unmanageable mess of spreadsheets that just cannot scale.
But here's where this story gets really interesting. This isn't just about one company cleaning up its act. The team behind this project saw a much bigger opportunity hiding in all that chaos. They decided to frame this whole thing as a research initiative, a real-world lab to study how data science actually gets done from the ground up.
Yeah, they call it a living research lab, and the idea is just fantastic. They want to track the entire journey, from that initial spreadsheet nightmare all the way to a mature system where humans and AI are actually collaborating to make really smart, strategic decisions. It's all about studying the process of getting good with data. So, what are they actually looking at in this lab? Well, it's a few key things. First, they're watching that evolution from messy spreadsheets to clean, repeatable data pipelines. They're also digging into the different ways humans and AI can team up effectively. Then there's a big focus on rigor, making sure the models are solid and you can trust the results. And finally, and this is so important, it's about baking ethics and interpretability right into the workflow from the very beginning.
So, how do you actually make that leap from a tangled mess to strategic insight? The project lays out this really clear four-part journey. It's a logical path that takes this grocery chain from just getting organized all the way to seeing real business impact. Let's see how it works.
And here's the roadmap. I love how they frame this. First, you've got to create structure out of that spaghetti. Then, you move on to integrity, which is all about making sure you can actually trust your data. Once you have that, you can start looking for the signal, the real insights hiding in there. And finally, you use those insights to build a strategy that actually improves your return on investment. It's a beautiful progression.
Okay, let's dig into that very first, absolutely foundational challenge, untangling the spaghetti and building a solid base to work from. Because if you don't get this part right, nothing else matters. So the goal, the big first hurdle, is this. You have to take all those disconnected, messy, inconsistent spreadsheets and somehow reverse engineer them into one single, clean, organized database, something you can actually ask questions of and get reliable answers from.
And the secret weapon for doing this is something called an entity relationship diagram, or an ERD. The best way to think about it is like a blueprint for a house, right? You wouldn't just start building without a plan. The ERD is that plan for your data. It maps out all the key pieces, your stores, your products, your sales, and clearly defines how they're all connected. It's the critical step that brings order to the chaos.
And what you get at the end of this stage isn't just a pretty diagram. It's a whole toolkit to get you started. You get the actual SQL code to build the database. You get Python scripts that automate loading all that messy data into your new clean system. They even give you analysis notebooks to start exploring right away, plus a simple prediction model to show you what's possible. It's a complete foundation, ready to go. Okay, so once that foundation is rock solid, the project moves on to the next three challenges. And each one builds on the last, adding another layer of value and sophistication. So challenge 2 is all about building trust. You've got to go through and fix all the duplicates, the missing info, the weird entries, because any insight is worthless if it's based on garbage data. Then challenge 3 is where the fun really starts. You use that clean, trustworthy data to forecast sales, looking for patterns tied to holidays, seasons, even the weather. And finally, challenge 4 is where we get super strategic. This is where you answer the million-dollar questions like, hey, did that big summer promotion actually work, or did we just waste a bunch of money?
Now, let's zoom back out and circle back to that bigger picture we started with. Remember, this whole thing isn't just about fixing one grocery store's data problems. It's a lab for studying one of the most important topics in tech today, how humans and AI can actually work together.
And this really is the core philosophy. It's not about replacing people with AI, no way. The real goal is to figure out how humans, with all our real-world knowledge and ethical judgment, can team up with AI to create insights that are not only powerful, but also responsible.
The research project looks at 3 different ways this teamwork can happen.
First, you have the AI as a tutor, where it's basically guiding and teaching the human. Then it can evolve into an AI coder, where it's more of a partner, generating code and models while the human validates the work. And finally, it can become an AI agent, where it executes complex tasks based on goals set by the human. It's a really cool progression of trust and capability.
And the ambition here is to produce stuff that's valuable for everyone, not just this one grocery chain. We're talking about public benchmarks, so other companies can see how they stack up. They're creating design patterns, basically proven recipes for making human AI teams actually work. And they're even building open-source teaching materials and practical promotion playbooks, so any business can learn from this and apply the lessons. This quote just nails the entire spirit of the project. It's not about automation just because we can. It's about shared understanding. It's about figuring out how people and machines can work together to create insights that are responsible, that are repeatable, and that can make a huge, real-world impact. And that really leaves us with the critical question to think about. As these AI tools get more and more powerful, the real challenge isn't just getting them to do more things automatically. The real challenge, the interesting part, is designing them from the ground up to be effective, trustworthy collaborators with us. What does that future look like? It's something we should all be thinking about.